Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from everywhere you are. My name is George Ademba, as I have indicated on the screen. I am a program coordinator of climate change. I do coordinate matters to do with climate policy in county rural areas. So, in our country, we use a devolved system of government where we have two forms of government. Both the national government and the county government. So it is very easy to access the community. So first of all, I want to say that we should know that climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is a lived experience. So my topic of discussion tonight or today will revolve around bridging climate policy to community resilience. I think my 15 minutes won't allow me to share the screen, but rather I'll just do an oral presentation. And I think from there, if in case anyone has a question, then they will feel free to ask me. First of all, you need to think about this climate policy. And what do you think, you personally, as a listener, about this climate? So the problem or the challenge that we, the youths, are experiencing is that you find that these climate policies, they are being written at the national or the international levels. And again, you will realize that if you try to read them as a youth, you will realize that they are packed with technical languages, the jargons, the fixated targets on emission. So there are policies that are difficult to understand, and they do rarely speak to us, we as youth, or they don't speak to our daily reality. So, for example, you will find that these climate policies or the climate change itself, you'll find that number of countries, states are battling with this challenge, especially if you try to look these countries that do face the challenge of flood. People are being displaced by floods. And in a region where I visited in our county, it's called a county government of Kitui, you watch crops fail. Why? Because of these challenges of climate change. So these policies, they often feel so distant to very people it is meant to protect. So one reason is that these policies, they are being made far away from us, the neighborhoods, and more so youth, because we are focusing on our future. Where is our future? But these policies, you find that they are being drafted, they are being made far away from us. We are not even included on the decision-making table. The global summits are announced yearly, year in, year out. You saw the 80th session of UN. If you try to look at the number of youths that were being engaged on those round tables, they were minimal. So this is the basis and the main challenge that we are facing as a youth. Another challenge is the language that I've just mentioned. It is packed with technical terms. There are acronyms that you can't even understand them, you personally, as the facilitator who has gone to the rural areas, to the villages, at least to enable them know whatever you are talking about, because it is difficult for us, we as youths, to translate the difficult languages that these policies are being used to, being drafted in. So, when people don't understand these policies, they can't engage with it. And finally, I want to say that climate policies, they do heavily focus on emissions target and maybe the long-term goals. So these are important, I understand, but they often fail to address the immediate concerns. The immediate concerns are like the safe housing, the reliable energy, the clean water. And in fact, I've heard you guys are mentioning climate change, and AI, the concept of artificial intelligence. As a youth, Calvin and I sat down yesterday and tried to think of how we can incorporate artificial intelligence on water management system, on health, right? Already, I know the innovators have already come up with the research on these issues, but mine was specifically to our communities, the under-resourced communities, the communities that are being faced by these challenges. You find that there is a region somewhere, they can't even get access to clean water. And maybe it is a water that it is already contaminated. We as youth, what can we do to enable us come up with an idea of a hive, like at least to enable us, even in, let's take for example, in urban cities, we can use this concept of artificial intelligence at least to detect whether there is contamination in this leakage, because I know water do flows of pipes. And maybe some other fellas might have different views. Some might have bad intentions towards others, because, you know, someone can just come and pay, someone can just come tamper with the pipes, you know, and the water gets contaminated, but people will consume it. So I was saying that these issues, they fail to address the immediate concerns like safe housing, reliable energy, clean water, securing livelihoods. So for communities, I can say that climate change it is not just a future. It is a present day challenge that we, the youths, have to come up with the possible solutions and see what we can do, at least to come up with the mitigation strategies that can help other communities, not necessarily in Kenya, but other communities that can also benefit from our innovative ideas that we can do, at least to enhance and make other communities have safe housing and reliable energy, water, name them. So I might be saying this term climate resilience, yet others might not be knowing or might not be well equipped with this term community resilience, I mean. So if I talk of community resilience, what I mean is that ability of community to anticipate climate risk and adapt to these conditions and recover from them. So, like, for example, we had COVID-19. How can we recover? How can the communities back in rural areas recover from these global shocks? So that is why I was focusing on community resilience. What can we do? Are we the ones that are going to prosper very well, yet others in the rural area are just there? But the UN principles or the social development goals, there is a concept of equity. We shouldn't leave others behind. So it means we have to be prepared before this disaster strike. And again, I want to say that if we have that capacity to respond to these emerging or stronger issues, we can build a social community where people feel free, where people can interact, where people can be happy, you know. So that is what we should consider now. But the core message I have for you guys tonight is that, effective climate policy only succeeds when it strengthens people where they live. So policies themselves cannot remain abstract target or maybe a distance from community. They must just translate into safer homes, reliable livelihoods, you know, healthier environment, and maybe stronger communities. So when these climate policies is rooted in local, maybe in local realities and shaped by communities, you know, voices, It becomes more than that regulation, it becomes a resilience. So we need to understand these policies and we need to delve on these policies, we as the youth, because actually I have also thought of there is an aspect of misinformation. What can we do at least to further our future? This aspect of AI, nowadays you find that you can't rely on an information on social media. And our people back in the community are being brainwashed. They might consume a misinformed information, any misinterpreted, or I don't know how I can put it, but misinformation is rampant on social media. What can we do as youths at least to prevent this misinformation in order for our elderlies maybe that have gone for retirement in the villages, protect them from consumption, because with them they can't identify that this is a wrong information. It's not supposed to be consumed. This is a good information. We are supposed to be consumed. Could we come up with an app that can analyze, data that is presented online so that we as youths can at least enable us to prevent or provide a mitigation strategy on how this misinformation can reach the villages? I think that is more aligned to how we can fathom our future, we as youths. So I want to briefly talk about this climate policy. It sounds so complicated, yes, I understand, or technical, but its core climate policy, yani they are just laws and strategies and investment that governs this policy. They are just strategies, they are laws and institutions put in place to respond to this climate policy. And in order for you to know this policy, you have to know how we can mitigate, how we can adapt, and how we can adjust to this climate impact. So another thing I felt like sharing with you guys tonight is that to better understand these things, we need to know the key challenges. So one of the biggest key challenge in climate change action is this gap between global and local realities. You find that many climate policies are designed around global metrics, carbon reduction, temperature limits, if you mention them. So these goals are important. They don't always reflect what communities are facing on the ground. If you work on these communities, you will find that for many people, climate change shows up as flooded homes after heavy rain. So not rising global temperatures can average this. So those are challenges that people are battling with, and we need to know them. But the biggest question is whether these policies exist. We as youths, are we aware of these policies? Do they exist? Hmm? What community resilience really means is that first, are we going to build a strong community and relationship with us? So those are the issues that I wanted to put across. And I think from there, Kevin, I might come back to you because I don't want to talk too much, because I felt like there are a number of gaps and the time allocation itself was so limited that I just saw it wise not to squander much of the speaker's time. And I'm back to you again, at least maybe if there are some few questions, then I can take them so that I allow other people also to present. I don't want to take more and much time tonight because I know other people are also here, maybe on the waiting room. They want to present, maybe. But what I have, or what I want to advise you guys, that could you guys come up with at least an, I don't know whether it is an app, so to call it, to at least cap this misinformation that is rampant on social media.
Yeah. So before we start the Q&A, me and Kaveen actually have a question ourselves. So as you know, we're building EnviroCast, which is an app that actually integrates AI and some of the next gen level things like quantum computing to actually accurately predict some climate information and stuff about like what type of things that everyday people are breathing in, so they can really realize what it's doing to their health. So we were wondering what your status is about incorporating like next gen technologies to really help better the climate.
Sorry, come up again. I didn't listen to you very well. Just
Yeah,
come up.
so we were wondering whether what your stance is about incorporating next gen technologies like AI and quantum computing to better predict climate and help people be aware of what they're actually breathing in.
Also, okay, when you talk about incorporating AI in climate change or in irrigation systems specifically, I can say that, being that it might limit the labor that these guys are taking, to the farm, at least to, I don't know whether I got your question. I might be answering something different.
No, I think that's a great answer.
Okay. Oh, so I thought what it was that, being that incorporating this technology on irrigation system themselves, they can help us at least to reduce the labor, that energy that is
Yeah.
being used on the farms. But the main challenge we have is that the technical know-how. You find that you might incorporate these technologies on climate change, but the consumptions itself, these people that are going to consume them, they don't understand. They are not well equipped with this technology. So it might just be there as something that is already dead. It is
Yeah.
dead on arrival. Yes.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
that is the main challenge. So the only thing we can do at least is to come up with a way on how we can simplify this technology to better them, how to come up with how we can make this language simpler to them so that if in case they are consuming or they are using it, they can use it perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's very important. And I think some people in the chat are also asking questions. So, Kaveen, if we could get Ninja's question on here. So, Ninja is asking on the issue of climate change, how do you think governments can better work through legislation with youth and international bodies to help educate and mitigate or make clear the effects?
Okay, fine. What I can say is that the government themselves, at least they can assign tasks to number of youths, maybe they give them regions, at least to send them to specific regions that are being affected to at least explain for them because I understand that some people are not that highly educated, but this challenge of education sometimes, so we, the youth that are educated, can at least break these laws, rules, and regulations that the government are putting in place, at least to make other communities understand better.
For sure. And then finally, we have one last question from Altier. As you are someone who works directly with climate policy, is there a space or discussion about tech integration and improving current systems and models? I think you kind of touched on it already with the discussion about AI and EnviroCast, but I guess from more of a government standpoint, what does that look like?
Okay, this one, as I had already mentioned earlier, is that if we try to incorporate this AI thing on irrigation or maybe on consumption of water, I want to give an example of urban cities. We in Africa, you find that the water that we consume are from pipe that we just consume directly from the sink. It is not water that is treated. So if we can incorporate artificial intelligence at least to provide, to detect the so-called contamination, on pipes, maybe the water is infected, I will just go to the sink, take a cup, just to drink it. So if in case we can incorporate AI, and at least AI can help us detect whether there is contamination, then that would be better. At least it would enhance these challenges that we are battling with concerning these clean water. I think you get.
Yes.
I think that's
Yeah.
the last of the questions we have, Mr. Ademba. Thank you for your time. I think your impact is very noble and it's very aligned with our mission here to actually use technology to make the climate a better place. And I'd love to discuss it with you later on a more personal note, but thank you for your time.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Thank you.
There is always an opportunity to contribute to the discussions that we have at EnviroCast Geo. If you are interested in attending or even speaking at a future conference, learn more at geo.envirocast.org. We're excited to hear your insights.